What's going on, guys? My name is Daniel from geeklove101.com, here with the single-player campaign review of High Moon Studios' Transformers Fall of Cybertron. Fall of Cybertron immediately continues the story from Transformers War for Cybertron, with the civil war between the Autobots and the Decepticons for control of their homeworld Cybertron. To kick things off, let's go ahead and talk about the most obvious aspect of the game, the graphics. Now, as gamers, a lot of us get our first impressions by seeing the developer's artwork in motion, right? By using the Unreal Engine 3, High Moon Studios were definitely able to develop some gorgeous distant vistas, extremely detailed environments, and almost seamless transitions between cutscenes and gameplay. Not to mention the color saturation, as well as dismissed texture loading from the character models. Examples of this can be found across all 13 chapters of the game, when the player sees the fucked up battlefields, the eerie interiors, or the ancient sandy ruins that make up the campaign's journey. With good graphics, more often than not comes good audio. From the explosions to the great voice work from Peter Cullen, for example, who is mostly known for all things Optimus Prime, or Fred Tatasciore, known for his role as Damon Baird in the Gears of War games. The audio is definitely there, and you can tell that High Moon wanted to make this game sound as good, if not better, than what it actually looks like. Don't believe me? Here. Let me go ahead and stop talking for a few seconds so you can have a listen.
Surprise!
These actors and effects, of course amongst many others, make the chemistry between Autobots and Decepticons boil or shine. In-game lines can also be very entertaining, all while keeping you focused on your objective, and even occasionally making the player laugh. One of my personal favorite scenes from the game happened very early on actually. It involved Starscream, Megatron, and Optimus, and what happened was that Starscream was trolling on Megatron for never being able to capture Optimus Prime. Megatron, being the short-tempered leader that he is, obviously reacts in a powerful way. However, for the sake of not releasing any spoilers beyond what you're already seeing and listening to, let's just go ahead and call it a scene. When compared to its predecessor War for Cybertron, the gameplay in Fall of Cybertron feels almost identical with the exception of a few things. A cleaned up control scheme, for example, that allows the player to navigate through the map in ironically a more natural and fluid way. There is also a new currency system that allows you to purchase and upgrade weapons and perks. As far as the AI goes, as you progress through the game, like with any other game, you'll eventually start to face stronger and stronger enemies. In Fall, these enemies range from mere Decepticon soldiers to leapers, which as its name suggests leaps, and even super soldier Decepticons called Marauders. All of the enemies do either get stronger regardless of faction, or they can simply come in greater numbers. Unfortunately, these AIs can also become a little frustrating to beat, especially at the higher difficulties, but hey, what's a fun game without a little challenge, right? For those who like to play the campaign with a buddy, there is a little bit of bad news for you. The co-op campaign feature from War has been dropped. Instead, now you'll have to play the campaign all by yourself. Overall, Fall of Cybertron is a fun game, and quite frankly further redemption from the recent Transformers films. However, the final few questions still remain, and those questions being, is this game worth your $60? Should you rent it? Should you just pass on it completely? In a nutshell, this game is in fact worth the premium $60. If you don't have the $60 to spend on the game right now, borrow it from a friend, or rent it, or even wait until you can afford it. But don't pass on it completely. This game has a moderately high replay value, allowing its players to definitely get their $60 worth. If you're used to other shooter games like a first-person shooter or a role-playing shooter, there will be a slight learning curve when picking up this game. But once you've mastered it, and you'll most likely want to replay the story. This has been a review of Transformers Fall of Cybertron. I will be back in another week with a review of only the multiplayer. I do realize that there was no mention of multiplayer in this review at all, but that's because there was enough changes that make it deserving of its own separate review. Until then, however, thank you all for watching.